Now we're going to show that the orthocenter of a tetrahedron divides the altitudes in the ratio 1 to 3. And this is the first part, and we're going to be using vectors in order to prove this point. What do we mean by the orthocenter? The orthocenter is this point in the middle, where the altitude comes down onto this point here. This is an altitude of the equilateral triangle, and this altitude of the tetrahedron divides this in the ratio 1 to 2, as we've shown before. So in order to prove this, we need to use a standard vector technique. We want to find two different ways of getting from O to G. And in this first part, we're going to be finding OF, and then some fraction of that is going to be OG, and that fraction we intend to show will be 3/4. So how do we get from O to F? First of all, we could go from O to G, and then some fraction of D to C. So let's write that down in big letters first, capital letters. OF is equal to OD plus some fraction of DC. And in point of fact, we know what that fraction is because we've proved it already. That fraction is 1/3. So we could rewrite this as OD plus 1/3 of DC. And that will give me the vector for the altitude OF. OD is relatively easy to find because we've only got to think it's 1/2 of A plus B. And there would be a rhombus here. If we did A plus B and halfway across it is going to be 1/2 of A plus B. Now we want 1/3 of DC. Well, how do we get from D to C? We go back from D to O, and then we go up to the point COC. So writing that in the small vector letters, it's 1/2 of A plus B in a bracket, plus 1/3 of, now this is negative 1/2 of A plus B plus C. And that's going to take us back from there to there, up from O to C, and we're going to want exactly 1/3 of it for DF. And then we have an expression for OF. Now, if we put all of this together, it turns out that we have 1/3 of A plus 1/3 of B plus 1/3 of C. So finally, we can say that OG is going to be some fraction, let's say, call the fraction M, which we hope to be 3/4, is M over 3 into A plus B plus C. And that concludes part 1.